TRADCAST Express. TRADCAST Express, it's Thursday, May 8th, 2025. Habemus Papam. Actually, we don't. But the Vatican II Church has a new leader. Robert Francis Prevost was chosen to head the modernist sect currently occupying the Roman Catholic structures in Vatican City. Prevost chose the name Leo XIV. Yes, that's definitely a pre-Vatican II name, but don't worry, he's far removed from the religion of his nominal predecessor, Pope Leo XIII. But more on that in a minute. First, some basic facts. Prevost is American by nationality. He was born in Chicago, Illinois on September 14th, 1955, and so is currently 69 years old. He's a member of the Order of St. Augustine. He was its superior general from 2001 to 2013, then became bishop of the Diocese of Chiclayo in Peru, before Francis called him to the Roman Curia to serve as the prefect of the dicastery for bishops in 2023 and made him a cardinal the same year. As the prefect of the dicastery, Prevost was Bergoglio's right-hand man for choosing candidates to be made Novus Ordo bishops. In other words, Prevost had the task of selecting men who would make good bishops according to Francis' heart. For Bergoglio to trust him in that role, it's clear that the two would have to be on the same page theologically, maybe not in every detail, but by and large. And indeed, what do you know? Leo XIV has a ringing endorsement from none other than the Rainbow Jesuit Father James Martin. You know, Hellboy. The following is the audio portion of a 1 minute and 20-second video Martin posted on Twitter with his reaction to the election of Robert Prevost as Pope Leo XIV. Let's listen.
Hey everyone, it's Jim Martin, and just sort of stunned by the news of the election of Pope Leo XIV, former Cardinal Prevost. I got to know him a little bit at the Synod. He was at my table, and I know him to be a down-to-earth, kind, modest, reserved guy, hardworking, decisive, not afraid of speaking his mind. It's a great choice. He brings a wealth of experience from being a missionary in Peru, a bishop in Peru. He speaks, of course, perfect Spanish and Italian and English, of course, with a Chicago accent. He was the prior general of the Augustinians. I'm standing on top of the Augustinian rooftop right now. And he was also in charge of formation. I also think it's really important to note the choice of the name Leo XIV, a nod to Leo XIII, who's the father of Catholic social teaching. So just an amazing choice. Surprising, but when you look back on it, makes perfect sense. He was the head of the dicastery of bishops, and so a lot of the cardinals would have known him from there. So I rejoice in this selection of Pope Leo XIV. I ask you all to pray for him. He's going to need our prayers. And God bless Leo XIV. God bless the Augustinians. And from the rooftop of the Augustinians here in Rome, God bless you all.
So, the Reverend Martin rejoices in this amazing, great choice of Robert Prevost. Okay, we can just leave it at that and look at some more biographical facts about Prevost, a.k.a. Leo XIV. First, his education. He has a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Villanova University in 1977. He studied theology at the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago, and he earned a licentiate degree in canon law in 1984 and a doctorate in canon law in 1987 from the Pontifical University of St. Thomas Aquinas in Rome. Next, his religious milestones. Prevost entered religious life in the Augustinian order in 1977 and took final vows in 1981. He was ordained a priest in the Novus Ordo rite of Paul VI on June 19th, 1982. In 2001, he became superior of the Augustinians, a post he held until 2013. He was ordained a Novus Ordo bishop on December 12, 2014, and was appointed to head the dicastery for bishops on January 30th, 2023. Francis raised him to the rank of cardinal on September 30th, 2023. All right, now let me tell you that with the flood of information that there is to go through in such a short period of time, I have enlisted the help of so-called artificial intelligence by simply feeding 20 sources of information about Prevost into such an AI module and told it to give me a summary. That summary says the following about his theological position. Alignment with Pope Francis. Prevost is seen as a continuation of Pope Francis's pastoral and reformist vision, emphasizing synodality, inclusivity, and a preferential option for the poor. Advocates for a missionary church that builds bridges, engages in dialogue, and prioritizes marginalized communities. Social justice and Catholic social teaching, deeply influenced by Latin American theology, particularly the emphasis on social justice and the preferential option for the poor, likely inspired by Pope Leo XIII's encyclical Rerum Novarum, which addressed labor rights and economic justice. Doctrinal conservatism with pastoral flexibility. While maintaining traditional Catholic teachings on issues such as women's ordination, Prevost has shown openness to discussions on pastoral care for divorced and remarried Catholics and same-sex couples' blessings in non-liturgical contexts. Balances doctrinal fidelity with pastoral sensitivity, reflecting a nuanced approach to complex moral and social issues. And synodality and unity. Strong advocate for synodality, emphasizing listening, dialogue, and shared discernment within the Church. Believes in unity within diversity, opposing both rigid uniformity and ideological polarization. All right, thus far the theological summary, and now we'll look at controversies and criticism. First, handling of abuse cases. Criticized for his handling of clerical abuse cases, both as an Augustinian provincial in Chicago and as a bishop in Chiclayo. Advocates and victims have questioned his transparency and effectiveness in addressing allegations, though diocesan statements assert he followed canonical norms. Perceived ambiguity. Some critics view his discretion and lack of public statements on contentious issues as a failure to take a clear stand, while others see it as prudence and balance. Reformist, yet moderate, seen as a loyal son of Francis, continuing the late Pope's reforms but with a more discreet and measured approach. Summary: Robert Prevost is a complex figure who bridges tradition and reform. His missionary background, administrative expertise, and pastoral sensitivity position him as a unifying leader for a global and diverse Catholic Church. While praised for his humility and bridge-building efforts, his handling of abuse cases and perceived ambiguity on some issues remain points of contention. As Pope, he is expected to continue the reformist trajectory of Pope Francis while emphasizing synodality, social justice, and unity within diversity. Thus far, the synthesis provided with the help of so-called artificial intelligence. Now, visually, I would say that Leo XIV looks a lot like Paul VI, and even a bit like Pope Pius XII, especially when he wears glasses. The way he presented himself on the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica today was in clear contrast to the boorish Francis, who could not think of a more dignified greeting than "good evening." Leo began with, "Peace be with you," the first words our Blessed Lord spoke to the apostles after his resurrection. Unfortunately, a lot of people will be swayed by appearances and by emotions, or the fact that Prevost has a more polished manner and more dignified demeanor than Bergoglio is actually a problem, in the sense that he will probably be offering the same heretical theology, just in much nicer wrapping paper, and so make it all the more dangerous. There's obviously so much more to say, but if I didn't cut it off somewhere, then this episode would have never gotten done. Much more information about Leo XIV is and will be available at novusordowatch.org, and especially on Twitter if you follow Novus Ordo Watch there. So, it looks like it's going to be more of the same. It'll just be easier on the eyes and ears. That's because Leo XIV is not a genuine successor of St. Peter. He is, rather, a genuine successor of Francis. TRADCAST Express is a production of Novus Ordo Watch. Check us out at tradcast.org, and if you like what we're doing, please consider making a tax-deductible contribution at novusordowatch.org/donate.